Tammy, if you would please do a roll call.
Mr. Bacon?
Here.
Mr. Adams?
Here.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Here. Okay, we have a quorum, we're going to proceed. And we're moving into the consent agenda, and we have minutes for May the 4th. What about minutes for May 18th?
Oh, they're not done.
They're not done yet, okay. All right, so May the 4th, has everyone had a chance to look over the minutes? There is the last line of the minutes, I think there's a line of text there that's not
I
legible.
just saw that. I will correct that.
Do either of you have what it is on your computer, so maybe we could, if we understand what that is, someone could make a motion?
Let me see if I can. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
I think I see for consideration, but that's as far as I can get.
Probably is for consideration, and here's the list that we have tonight, so.
It says, for consideration aiming to simplify the process.
Are there any other questions? Would anyone like to make a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll make a motion.
All right,
I'll second
we have a motion, we have a second. Do we need to vote on that, or are we good on that? Yeah.
Typically, you should vote.
Okay, then let's call it.
Historically, they don't vote at the council level, but you should.
Okay, well, then let's do what we should do.
Mr. Bacon?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes. Okay. On the regular agenda, the first item is a request to consider amendment to the comprehensive plan future land use map at 5300 Highway 98 Sunstop Gas and Convenience Store. Legislative decision. Laura, if you will take us through that, please.
Yes, this is a request by the applicant, Southwest Georgia Oil Company, to amend the future land use map, and then subsequently with the next item, we're going to consider an amendment to the zoning map from the Bay County designation of mixed land use to the Mexico Beach designation of general commercial for a parcel that's contiguous to the city limits on the west, on the north side of 98, which is currently developed as the Sunstop gas station. This is part of an agreement that was entered into several years ago regarding the development of the Sunstop and the ability to receive city water and sewer services. And that agreement was to annex within 2 years of development. And I think Tim has more detail on that if we need to go into that a little more. So the applicant requested general commercial. This is allowable use by the general commercial category. We didn't need to do a whole lot of analysis because this is an existing use, and at the time of development, the county would have considered all the concurrency issues that we consider normally when we're annexing land or developing land. There is an analysis of what's abutting the property. There is not any kind of indication of any incompatibility issues with existing uses, which are primarily vacant around the property. So the recommendation for approval is made to accept the request to go to the general commercial future land use category.
All right, let's open it up to the public part of the meeting. Do we
I
have
have a question, yeah?
Could you come forward? state
I
your
will
name,
look
your
at
address?
it and come forward. Plus, that's the front row. John Harrell, 43 First Street. Looking at the map, where the red, it kind of goes down past the exit road that they have.
So you might have to point out to me what you mean.
Okay, the exit road is here, and it
The
continues
ingress
on.
and egress?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Right there. Does anyone know how big that is? And can they do anything with that property?
So where the driveway comes out on the west side?
Right, and it goes past that.
Um,
I don't know how far it is, but if you, there was a,
I have
yes, you have,
very
so you have
little time.
here, and then it goes all the way here. Can they do anything with that property?
I mean, we'd have to analyze any proposal. It looks like it might be stormwater,
I thought that was stormwater pond.
stormwater pond.
Is it? That's what I don't know.
That's what it looked like
It
when I
looks
drove
like
by.
it from the aerial.
It just looks like it's been cleared, but if that's, I was just wondering if that, you know,
When
they
I-
could do anything with that.
I had kind of the same question when I went to Panama City this morning. It looks like stormwater retention.
Okay, that was my question.
That-
Yeah,
right,
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 yeah.
Huh?
It looks like a stormwater.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Well, looking at the map, I don't see where else they would have put it, and they've got to have it.
Okay, but that's it. We'll close the public part of the discussion and open it up to the board. Anyone have a chance to look through this, consider any questions?
I had a similar question. I knew that was a stormwater pond, but in the future, could they add on, make that bigger? I mean, is there anything that could change, I guess?
It's certainly possible. They could apply for some sort of expansion of the existing structure,
Okay,
but now we would review it instead of the county who approved it previously.
Right,
We would review
right.
it against our regulations.
okay.
Yeah, this is coming really in three steps. You're getting steps 2 and 3. The first step obviously is the annexation ordinance, which is proposed ordinance 886. The land use change is proposed ordinance 887. I guess you got those, and then the zoning is 888. And then these will go to the city council for 2 public hearings on all of those. So Laura's done the detailed analysis of what those are doing or would be doing. So the recommendations from you guys are just on the land use and the zoning. So,
Got it.
but they're getting the third component first, the annexation part. But as Laura indicated, this was an agreement between the property owner and the city, and actually the city enacted a resolution to implement that agreement. And I want to say it was 3 years after they completed construction and got operational. So that expired in April, so we're in the approximate time frame of getting it done.
Any other questions?
What
Anything
kind
else?
of tax revenue is that for the city?
Well, just happened to figure that out today. The past 3 years, they've been paying payments in lieu of taxes of $9,000 a year. You know, that's done now. But I figured out, based on our current millage rate and the valuation of their property, they'll bring in right at $6,000
Okay,
Per year.
per year.
That's just in the ad valorem tax, and then of course you got the water and sewer revenues that you'll get from that. Correct. Property also.
I hope so.
We're supposed to be.
It's a great asset.
Jack, since you, will they get a reduction on their water rates? Because aren't they paying 25% above right now? Because
Anyone outside the city limits does pay a premium, so that will go away upon annexation.
any idea what that revenue loss will be for the city?
I have no idea at this point.
So that's 6,000. We think that's low. Oh, it just sounds low.
Yeah. Well, their current tax bill in total is $13,000. So with us, it'll be knocking on the door of $20,000. For a place of that size, it does kind of seem low, but based on the current valuation of 1.1 million, that's what the math comes out to be.
A 6, not 20.
Correct. Well, 20 all taxes.
Total.
So the city's take of the whole millage rate, because the county gets some, the
Right.
city gets some, so that makes more sense.
Yeah, the county
Yeah,
gets
it's not
more than we do
100%
some of the
what-
schools.
It's not 100% of what they
Right,
pay, it's part
right.
of what they get paid goes to the county.
Right.
They don't pay 6, they pay 20. Is that right?
Well, right now they're paying 13 because we're not included, but next year we will be, so it'll be close to 20.
Okay, well, that's a separate topic, but on the approval of moving this to the commercial category of the future land use map, are there any other questions from the other? It is recommendation by staff that we approve this, so would anyone like to make a motion to do so?
Make a motion.
Okay, we have a motion from Mr. Bacon. Any second?
I'll second.
I think Gary was first.
Mr. Adams?
Yes. So we have a motion, we have a second. Would you please call for a vote?
Okay, Mr. Bacon?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes. Okay, the next item,
Since that, are you doing the separate land use and zoning then?
Yes.
well, I'm just taking them one at a time
Yes.
since they were, it's the same property.
Yes.
We just completed amendment to the comprehensive plan and future land map, but this is assigning the zoning map designation.
Yes.
So you want to take us through?
Yes, so this is the same information with the same property. The difference is this is a quasi judicial hearing. So if you have any disclosures to be made, they need to be made at this portion of the agenda. But essentially, this is the same property, same location, it's a sun stop on the west end. Because we have future land use categories and zoning districts, we have to have the zoning adopted in a QJ hearing. So same decision, essentially just a different process in which we do it for a different map.
Okay. All right, well then let's open the public portion of this. No public comment, so we'll close the public and open the board discussion. Has everyone had a chance to look through this? Do you understand the difference?
Does anybody need to make a disclosure? Have you had any discussions with the property owner about the pending applications? Okay.
So, no disclosures. We just have to do it twice based on the way that we do things here. Recommend it if you need it, and if not, would anyone like to make a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve,
I'll second it.
Recommend approval.
recommend approval.
Okay,
Mr.
Mr.
Adams?
Bacon?
Yes.
Mr. Adams?
Yes.
Mr. Van Arsdale?
Yes.
Mr. Kerrigan?
Yes. Okay, and next. Item number 3, consideration of changes to the new Article 5 landscaping and environmentally sensitive areas protection. Laura, if you'll take us through this.
Yes, so this is a continuation from our last meeting, talking about Article 5, and there's a couple sections that we were discussing as part of Article 5. So we'll start with Section 5.00.00, which is the first page. And under landscaping, we had discussions last time about how we're going to treat single-family homes different than regular commercial development or non-residential development. And so, under 5.01.02 in the middle of the page, there is a new underlined section in there with exception of single-family lot development, starting with that. So what we're doing is saying that this whole article applies to any development within Mexico Beach with exception to single-family lot development, because we didn't want them to have to, we wanted them to have to plant trees but not have to adhere to the other regulations. So when we move forward, there's a section 5.01.08 which has been added that addresses that issue, that they will have to put in 1 tree per 40 linear feet prior to the issuance of a certificate of occupancy by the building official for the dwelling. And then we're talking about the 12 feet minimum in height and maintain in good health. And then we talk about at least 40% of the planted trees shall be from those listed in Appendix B. So that's how we're treating the single-family homes separate than any other kind of development in Mexico Beach, because we talked about that we wanted them not to have to adhere to all the other regulations, and that's, to me, the easiest way to segment those, so that they still have to do the tree, they have to plant the trees, but they don't have to do all the shrubbery and the ground cover and all that's listed. So that's that first change. The second change is at the bottom of the page, where we talked about having an exception for the palm tree, that we were talking about, the palm tree percentage maximum. So the last sentence there, south of Highway 98, as part of the required landscaping of this article, development plan shall include at least one tree as listed in Appendix B, but the rest may otherwise be palm trees, because we talked about how south of 98 we wanted to allow more palm trees than north of 98. But just realizing that the western part of the city south of 98 still has a lot of area to it, but so if there's any other way you want to describe that, but this is the proposal on how we want to handle that. I mentioned it at the last meeting. So then the next page is section 5.01.0008, sorry, and that was the one I just mentioned regarding the single-family lot development. So development or redevelopment occurring on a single-family, this is page 5-3. Development or redevelopment occurring on a single-family lot to construct or reconstruct a single-family dwelling shall be required to plant one tree per 40 linear feet of property line within the parcel prior to issuance of a CO for the dwelling, and each tree must be a minimum of 12 feet and shall be maintained in good health. And then we talk about the 40% rule that we have for the other landscaping for those that are listed in Appendix B. So do we have any questions on either of those two pages before we move?
Well, the only question I've got is about the whole idea of maintaining a good health.
Mm-hmm.
How is that even enforceable? I mean, how do we?
Well, I would caution you to not disregard things because we might not perceive them as enforceable, because there might be a time that you have a situation that's extreme or something that you want to enforce specifically, although you should enforce rules all the time, but understanding the limitations of a small government. You can't enforce something that you don't have written. So I think it's fine to have something like that in here, and I don't think anybody's going to go around town and measure whether or not a tree is healthy, but it could be an issue where maybe one property owner either removes or lets all of their trees die. Then you might want to bring attention to that one case. Or
So who, if you do have to enforce it, do we come up with that, or who comes up with the enforcement on stuff like that?
code enforcement officer.
Code enforcement.
Yeah, they would get a citation.
Okay. So it's kind of up to them to figure out the penalties and things like that. That's not our.
That's not your purview, but
Okay.
it is in the code of ordinances, right, Tim? Yeah,
The
penalties.
various fines are set out either by ordinance or resolution.
Okay.
Before we,
But the bottom line is that, the last time you looked at it, the language talked about being maintained in perpetuity.
you took out
And you wanted that out. The gist of it is that the city does not want people to plant a dying plant just to comply with the code, and then tomorrow yank it out and go away. So obviously it's got a reasonable test that has to be applied, but as Lenore said, if it's not in there, it can't be enforced at all. So at least if you got it in there, and if someone is abusing the process and doing something similar to that, then you could theoretically enforce that provision.
My bigger question was just who does what.
Code enforcement.
Yeah.
So before we go through too many of our questions, public, Do you have a comment, John?
I have a question.
Come on, God, Debbie, come up. This is quasi judicial hearing. Yes, you have to do that.
Yeah, my question is, you're talking about one tree for every 40 feet. Once that minimum is met with 12-foot trees, can you plant trees that are not 12 feet?
Yes,
Okay.
you can plant more.
Pardon?
You can plant more than what is
And
required.
it doesn't have to be 12 feet?
Correct,
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you, that was the question.
Good
that's your
question.
choice, yeah, after.
Okay. All right, Laura, on this one, on this 5.0, 1.08, this just mentions at least 40% of the planted trees shall be, probably, we're missing a word there. Shall one or more of those listed?
At least 40% of the planted trees shall, yes, you're correct.
So what about the north-south US 98 component here? We have it previously on 5.0, 1.03,
Yes,
but this doesn't, does this apply to all single-family lot development?
yes, so that makes a good point. You could argue that they also could adhere to 5.0, 1.03, but we can also mention it here in this paragraph. For clarification.
Where you put a clarification?
At the end of the paragraph, or make a new paragraph that states that this, the section 5.01.03 will also apply to the single-family lot development, where they could put palm trees south of 98.
So that's an alternative, or that's in addition to what's in 5.01?
That language would be in addition to mention 5.01, 1.03, in my opinion. Make reference.
And it wasn't necessarily confusing to me, I just questioned why it
Sure.
was different. All right, you can continue.
Okay, so the next change is page 5-5. Towards the top, number 3, we were discussing at the last meeting whether or not to allow e-bikes on the beach, and then to allow an exemption for ADA accessibility. So that language is added, I think it's highlighted in your version. Motorized personal vehicles for ADA accessibility.
What page are you at the bottom?
So 5-5 is what I have, is that what you show?
I don't see that one. That's-
I think it's a different page.
So it would be,
Our 5.5 is buffers on this.
Yes.
okay, well, that would be a whole different section. So let me see what we got. Let me see.
Do you want to use my copy on the iPad?
I'm just trying to figure out what to do. Which one is,
I have an extra copy here.
I know, I think I probably know. Okay, I'm sorry. So this is in so that would be the final change in this portion of what we discussed last time. The next change is then in the section that starts with 5.03, which would be page 5.5. So that would be the changes that we talked about from that portion of the article. So the next change would be under the 5.03.00 environmentally sensitive lands and other natural resources, which also starts with page 5-1 because they were done at separate times. And on that section, towards the back of your packet, there's another page 5-5.
I go from 5.01.04 to 5.04.05.
Yes, because these were done at separate times, and there's a whole section of the floodplain ordinance that needs to be inserted that we're not gonna change. That's gonna adjust all the page numbers, so it's not in here right now. It was adopted by ordinance last fall, I believe. So that needs to be inserted, which will upset all the page numbers. So that's gonna get adjusted when this is finally packaged.
So from a section number standpoint, what section number? are you
So
looking
from the section number standpoint, we're on section 503.03, which is in the second half of the attachment.
Well, before we go further, I do have a question. This
Sure.
page, forget all the section numbers there,
Sure.
just go to page 5-6, that's the page
Okay.
we were on. And it says, trees shall have a minimum overall height of 10 feet.
12. Yeah, we decided 12.
We did, we
Yeah.
decided 12, and this shows 10.
Okay, I need to make sure, I changed it in my hard copy, but I didn't change it.
But so on my 5-5 though, I go from 50202 to 50103.
Right, because there's a whole section missing,
But we've got another, we already have a 501-3.
501. So 50202, there's a numbering issue, you're right. It should be 50203 on page,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
It should just
Yeah,
continue.
that makes, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Just lost my pen. Numbering. So that should be 50203.
50204?
Yep, all the way down. I'll check that. I do want to make sure we understand, because I know another thing we talked about last time was the amount of shrubbery for non-residential buffering, which I had at 1 shrub for every 5 linear feet. So I want to make sure that we don't need to discuss that further. Because I think you, Mr. Bacon, had questions about
Well, just
that density.
on residential, yeah.
Yeah, so this wouldn't apply to the single
Right,
family lot.
right.
Yeah.
And how does the homeowner know that? What guides them in here to say that this doesn't apply to them?
Yeah, that would be on that first page. Back at the beginning, where it says applicability 5.01.02. All new development within Mexico Beach, with exception of single-family lot development, shall adhere to these regulations. Single-family lot development shall be required to comply with the planting requirements listed in 5.01.08, which is the trees.
Maybe for clarification, maybe more, since we're in 50108, you're referring back to 50103, maybe you put in that sentence, shall adhere to the planning requirements listed in sections 5.01.03 and 5.01.08. Since 08 refers back to 03 now. You added that language
So,
at the end.
say that again. So the planting, you said, yeah, I'm gonna refer back to 5.01.03, but what was the other section you said we needed to apply that to?
Well, if you read that sentence, at the end of that sentence, you only had listed the planning requirements listed in section 50108. I'm saying now you're referring in 50108 back to 50103, so why not just list both of those sections in that sentence?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, that's not a planting requirement in 50103, that's an exception. So, let me think on that. I don't wanna try to think about that right now and try to determine that at the table, but we can noodle on that for a little
Yeah,
bit.
okay, but you see, if you're gonna refer.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
If you're gonna refer in 50108 back to 50103, and.
As
we
an
need to-
exception,
yeah.
yeah, to the rule.
So, take a look at that.
Okay.
And do you think it would be clear that, like, right at the very beginning, landscape general, if you would just have landscape general for residential, and then after that, literally say that everything after this applies to commercial? Would it make more sense for the layperson just to completely break it up?
So, I'm not sure. I think it's pretty clear the way it says under applicability, what you have to apply this to is everything that's not a single family lot development. And in that case, you have to look to 5.01.08 for that requirement.
Okay. I'm just always trying to think about a dummy trying to read
Well, me
this.
too, yeah.
And we've kind of tampered it from being 100% development focus is what it seemed like it was previously.
Right.
And we need to remember that there is some of that in Mexico Beach, but there's a heck of a lot more, so.
Yeah, I would bet, at this point, like, maybe 60% of our development is rebuilding, right?
Yeah, if we want, ultimately, it's a sort of a Mel question, and the departments that have to guide people on what they need to do and then enforce it. I have a question on the appendix, and the appendix that we've been given is a lot longer than what's in the plan now. The plan now has 11. This is, I counted them up and there's 43. I don't know that an enforcement person is going to even be able to tell if the 11 are correct. They'd probably tell the height. But Mel, do you have any concerns that the list is so extensive now?
I don't see what you're referring to. You say the appendix?
Yeah,
The list of trees.
Oh, okay. Well, most of it have no idea what this is talking about. I mean, when you talk about all these Latin names for stuff, that doesn't mean anything to us.
If you read,
The only way we can determine about the common name, of course, is if it's in the plan itself.
And it
But-
would be, yeah.
Yeah, but if you expect someone from the city to go out and look at a plant that's not on the plan, we're not arborists.
right.
So we have no idea. So we gotta refer to what the plan says.
But to Jeff's point of making this where the layman can understand it, someone is gonna come here and build a home, they have to have a certain number of trees based on the size of their lot, and then they need to put in certain types of trees. Have we made it harder?
I'm only gonna say this, is thinking, I'm in the process of starting up to build a house, and I'm gonna face it, my wife makes all the decisions, so if you give my wife 11 choices or 43 choices, she's gonna like 43 choices better than the 11. On that end, I can see from how is somebody gonna check, is it a red maple versus this? But I think it's just like anything else. I think you're going to make the same argument about the 11. I mean, yeah, could you do a training and say, here are these 11 trees and learn what they are? But even then, I think that's probably a stretch for.
Well, the list, whether it's 1 page or 3, it's just a list.
Okay, that's a.
But this is a question. Even if a homeowner is developing, I mean, you should be providing a landscaping plan that you should have all these trees listed out of what you're in the plan.
That's correct.
And at some point, you've got to kind of rely that that's what they're actually going to plant, I would think.
And you're supposed to submit to the
Yeah,
city.
yeah, you've got to.
And that's what the development order review does. We look at the landscaping plan and check against the requirements of the code. I did consult with, I don't know if you're familiar with Sandhills Native Nursery. They're in the Sandhills area in the in the Youngstown area. And they do a lot of installations. I said, can you look at this list, and this is the Appendix B, and tell me how practical it is. And she did provide some comments. I haven't adjusted the list accordingly. She did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. So she gave me 22, and these are not the shrubs, this is just the trees. That she says you have to consider what's available in the trade. You can't just list all these trees like the dogwood. It's really hard to keep alive here anymore. So she doesn't even try to sell it. It's not only hard to keep alive, it's hard to get. So she said you have to understand what you can get in the trade. And so she gave me this list of what's easy to obtain as a landscaper installer in order to be able to purchase it, to be able to install it. And so that's the list she gave me. These are all on the list that I gave you. So there's a few on here of your list also, Jack. But if you want to whittle it down, I would at least whittle it down to her list because she's the expert.
I don't want to whittle it down for whittling's sake. I want to just, I think the goal is to help people pick trees that will thrive here.
Well, yeah.
And get it back as
But
best we can.
but I can agree with, if she's saying that there's trees on this list that aren't gonna survive here, they should be removed. I mean, because they're just going to die.
Yeah, okay.
So,
And I didn't have the dogwood on my list because I knew it's hard to grow here.
So
Even though
are
it's
there-
a native tree, it gets this disease that's common these days and it just perishes.
So I want to make sure I'm clear. Are you saying there are trees on this list of 43 that won't thrive here?
I gave her the list of 43 and she went and gave me a list of about half that she said are easy to get in the trade. So
Where's that?
everything that's easy to get in the trade is on the list that I gave you.
Okay, but the list is just broader
More,
because,
yeah.
all right.
Well, it does make sense to have a list that people can actually buy,
Yes.
so they're not spending their whole day.
Right.
So the question is, do you want Allure to whittle it down to the list from the nursery or keep the 43?
Anyone?
Maybe you could keep the 43 and put a star by the
that's
ones
what I was thinking, put an asterisk that,
Something.
that just states this is easily,
Commonly carried.
commonly available.
I can do that.
Okay.
grow well or something.
So that I can sort of understand this if I were building a home like Mr. Adams or a restaurant like Toucans. I asked for the landscape plan and I got that and I'm taking a look at it. What's hard for me on this, and I want to understand what is required, is that number one, now maybe this is just a copy that I was given, but Mel, when these are given to the city, are they 24 by 36? I think three meetings ago, we all agreed that development plans had to be submitted at that size. Is that correct?
We don't get hard copies.
Yeah.
No, they're all digital.
They're all PDFs.
Does the city have a big printer?
We do not, so we just get electronic copies and
You just-
print it accordingly.
I thought that we talked about something being presented in 24 by 36 inch size. No? Okay.
Well, that may be the case, but we like to have electronic copies of everything, so it can be dated and
Okay.
easily accessible.
Well, this one for Toucans, I can pass it around if no one else has had a chance to look at it, but it tells me the species that they're planning to put in. Sable palmetto, 8 of them, at a height of over 5 feet. That's just what's on this plan. But there are no lot boundaries, so maybe that's the right number. But when these plans are submitted, shouldn't they have the dimensions of the lot so that the number of trees can, so the math can be
Yes.
done?
They will.
Well, they've
It'll
got
be on
ways of
their,
figuring it
it'll
out.
be on their site plan. So that landscaping plan comes in conjunction with the site plan
Yeah, it's a big package
Okay.
that would have.
and the
the
survey and, yeah, there's
Yeah.
more to it.
Your point may be well taken from a convenience standpoint of evaluating a landscape plan so that you don't have to go back and look at the site plan, maybe.
You would think, I mean,
maybe
this
they
is,
put the
this is a
dimensions
plan
on
about a
that.
site,
Yeah,
Yes,
rather than referring to another page in the deck. I would have the same dimensions right here that you do on the other one.
and they usually do. I don't know if they've finished their complete site plan
Okay.
set, but usually it's part
Does
of
it
the
have a
whole.
scale in the bottom
package.
left?
I think it does, yeah. There's a scale.
I do have a question. All these requirements that we're talking about, this applies to commercial as well?
Yes,
The reason I ask the question is because commercial can have, is it up to 90% lot coverage? or- So that makes it more difficult to really do a landscaping plan.
Yes.
So,
Quite a few wax myrtles.
I don't know, is that a fair assessment for commercial then? I mean,
so you are correct in that when you have 90% impervious surface, it's harder to plant a tree. So we need to decide, I mean, it can be done, it's just a matter of where you're putting that 10% and how much of an area it has for a tree.
because I remember at one time when I inquired with the building department, they indicated that the comprehensive plan said something that commercial could do things differently. I can't recall what that is off the top of my head, so that might be something, I could have a conversation
Yeah.
offline.
Yeah, I'd have to know what
Yeah.
policy they're looking at.
So, but right now, commercial is required to adhere to the same standard, right?
Correct.
And back in, this was submitted in February 2022, is that right?
Yes.
Pretty small print. So that was submitted then, and that was submitted for a reason, and here's their landscaping plan.
But this doesn't meet the criteria that 12-foot size trees has 5.
Well, they say greater than 5, it's just an odd way of them saying, here's what we're gonna do, we're gonna put in trees larger than 5 feet.
I mean, they do five. My one is small, they're small right now.
Well,
It's
they can
just
be
like
50
the
feet, that's
maximum
larger than
impervious
5
surface
feet.
is
you
not
know,
huge. That doesn't
you
mean
would
they have
expect
to
that
go
under
that
the
high.
current rule,
Or they
if
will.
these rules pass, they would have to say
Start
12
doing
feet or
differently.
greater. Because between 5 and 12 feet wouldn't comply.
I definitely wonder about landscaping, look at the new pig. I drive by there every day, so it's like, where are they gonna put anything there?
They didn't have any in their plan set.
Really?
Now, we agreed to allow them to take some of the palm trees from that property to the north
Mm-hmm.
of them and plant it on some of the city right away, next to the sidewalk.
Now, is that property, is that gonna be their parking lot? Or what is, do we know? The lot directly behind the
Well,
pig?
according to the ordinance, the parking that is there is sufficient for everything. We all know that it's not. But the lot that we're talking about, they just submitted a plan today for us to look at to see if there's any adjustments they need to make. That did include a number of parking spots, which is a welcome addition.
Oh, absolutely. That whole, I work at Ace, if you didn't know that, and that parking, they're the stupidest parking lot ever made.
Can't change it now.
So are we okay with the, also the language for
Yes,
the e-bikes and the motorized personal vehicles for ADA accessibility on the beach?
I never could find that one. Where is it?
That is, I think that's where we got confused about, I think that's in the section, that's secondary to this first part. 5.03. So it's in the second set of the document with the second page, 5.3-5.
So it is 5.03.04 or what?
Hold on. Somehow my page numbers got messed up. That was under wildlife habitat. Protections, right? Let me look.
We're waiting to
We're,
find out where
I'm
we're at.
trying to figure out what happened. Somehow,
It's over on page TBD 5-5 at the top, number 3.
What page do you want us to be on the bottom?
There's a second group, TBD 5-5.
Right. That's where this paragraph is. It started this discussion. Number 3.
Okay, I got you. Okay. And Laura, are you gonna explain this number 3 to us?
I'm actually trying to figure out what happened. Why I'm not matching up with you guys. So, what page are you on? I'm sorry.
We're on
TBD
TBD
5-5.
5-5.
Yes. That's the, and are we on number 3 there?
Yes.
Okay, and that's where the motorized personal vehicles for ADA accessibility and e-bikes
Yes.
was added? Yeah, so I just wanted to make sure that was acceptable position.
So is this saying that e-bikes are allowed on the beach, or are they not allowed on the beach?
This is saying they are, and I recall that was the discussion we had last time, that you wanted to allow them on the beach.
I think that was the discussion, I just wanted to make sure.
Yeah.
that was-
Allowed on the sidewalk.
That's what that meant, okay, got it.
Do we, I still have trouble with that. Do we really want to have e-bikes on the beach?
I think so. I don't think it's that much different than
I think that if
regular
you're
bike.
gonna, I think that if you're gonna allow them on the sidewalks, kind of needs to.
I'll get you.
Yeah, but
back
people
on
aren't
the
sunbathing on the
turn-
sidewalk.
turn
I could just wait for the
I
first
think
person to get
that's-
plowed over by somebody doing 40 miles an hour on an e-bike.
Guess it
I'm
could
just-
happen.
I'm just-
It hasn't happened.
No.
It's a,
That's,
I just-
the e-bikes are
That's
such
what-
a
that's-
system. If you
yeah.
watched,
I
Kelsey.
get
that's why they make
concerned.
rules, to worry about what may happen.
They can go pretty fast.
I know.
That's my concern. You've got children playing down there on that hard sand. It's a safety issue.
Personally, I would think e-bikes would be a really bad idea. I mean, especially there's newer e-bikes that are basically like motocross bikes, and
We did talk about
Right.
two different classifications of them last time.
but does that matter when somebody gets plowed over?
Well, I guess they could get plowed over by a non-motorized bike too.
Yeah.
It is.
It's hard to pedal one on sand.
Yeah. Does
Well, I suppose
anybody agree with me?
if the council
I agree with
authorized
you
it,
and-
then you could take it out here, and as long as you say as authorized by the council, if they want to allow them, they can allow them.
Say that again, Tim?
The way that it's written here, you could take e-bikes out, because then it also says, and vehicles as authorized by the city council, including but not limited to those in the code of ordinances or by resolution. So if they want to allow them, they could actually adopt a resolution or just allow them, and we wouldn't have to enumerate them here. Would-
That works for me.
Works for me.
That's the only reason I wasn't disagreeing with you is watching the multiple council meetings and e-bikes. It was a disaster. And so like, I'm happy to put that off on them.
And I didn't watch the meetings, but
It was the same arguments on the
Is it?
sidewalks.
my concern is being unnecessarily restrictive. Of course, I don't want someone to be run over, but we have an older population, and I think an e-bike is an assisted bike, and if it helps you enjoy the beach a little bit more than pedaling hard, I would rather see a couple enjoying an e-bike than saying you can't do that here, and it has not become a problem. Anything could become a problem, but that's my position, but I'm okay with the language that you just mentioned, and leave it to the city.
Yeah, I agree that it would be helpful for a certain demographic, but also on the other end of that spectrum, there's another demographic that would be using them also, and they're not as responsible.
I don't think they're using them now and have
So
been.
we take it out after.
That's what I would do. Is that?
But I
is
would leave in the motorized,
Yeah.
personal vehicles for ADA.
that- So are we taking out you?
Just take out the e-bike.
So are you taking it out or leaving it?
I'm taking out
Whatever.
e-bikes. Yeah.
Would you have to put a sign up like the dogs, no dogs on the beach?
It's a council decision.
That's council,
Huh? No e-bikes, I mean, would that,
yeah. That would be a council decision, they'd have to decide that,
yeah.
post
Yeah.
it, yeah.
I think
And they
we'd
might
have to-
allow them.
Yeah.
That's what we're saying. We're just
Yeah.
letting them make that.
Moving it on.
Yeah.
No, you're- Move it on.
People are all by those signs. There's dogs on the beach all the time.
That is true.
You just can't go down in front of paradise.
Laura,
Yeah.
on that page, I assume you have it highlighted to kind of bring it to their attention.
That was highlighted from the last time, I just didn't take
You
it
know,
back
it's
off.
funny you say that.
This is language that's actually in
literally
the
saw a
comprehensive
woman
plan as it
walking
pertains to the
dogs
tourist mixed use land use
on that
category.
bridge, on that
So
walkway,
just take out the highlight.
going back to
Yeah, yeah, we're
paradise.
still
There you go.
highlighting
Right.
our notes.
Well, Laura, what page are we on now?
So the next change is where we were talking about, it's on page TDD 5-12. Under the beaches, well, yeah, let's start there, but I actually went back and eliminated or deleted the first part of that mitigation paragraph.
Laura, I hate to interrupt you. Can we
Yeah.
go back to 5.8 before we skip past that? I have
Yes.
a question.
Yes.
On 5-8, on 50402, number 3, we discussed on number 3 removing timber. And the 4 feet timber catwalks, docks,
Yes,
bridges.
we did.
The timber needs to be removed, and I did look up the ADA, really needs to be 60 inches, so 5 feet instead of 4.
So the reason why it's 4 feet is because so this, just remember, this is just an example of what is considered an impact that doesn't require permitting.
Mm-hmm.
So that 4-foot threshold is a DEP threshold,
Mm-hmm.
that anything, it's not that you're saying you can't have it wider, but if you have it wider, you have to get a permit.
Okay,
So it's just a threshold as to what requires a permit and what doesn't.
okay.
What about the timber? You and I talked about timber.
Yeah, we did talk about the timber, and that is also FDEP language, but I would say that most of what you're permitting is over the city canal anyway, so you're exempt from the aren't you exempt from FDEP permitting over the city canal?
Well, it's still a class 9 or whatever it is,
Lower
but
class, yeah.
it's a lower class.
I just know a lot of people are using like synthetic decking now instead of
Yeah.
Yeah.
wood. And
Is there a problem in taking out the word timber, you think?
As long as FDEP doesn't get involved, because that's their language. But yes, we can take it out. And FDEP is gonna overrule us anyway.
Okay, so we're gonna remove the word timber,
Timber.
start with catwalks.
Mhm.
I had the same question .04 on 5.9 on the 4 foot width, but I'm sure that's probably DEPC, but that's like, you're not putting a trail, a ADA trail at 4 feet, because it's gonna have to be at least 5 feet. Sorry
And
about that.
this again is insignificant adverse effect, so
Yeah.
this is just setting
It's
the
a threshold.
bar.
Let's see. Okay, so we're in September. The next change is, we're talking about page 5-11, part that talks about mitigation. Went ahead and deleted that generally part for, at the beginning, because we talked about how, we're just gonna let the state kind of take control of that, which they already do. We don't really have a way to mitigate and have mitigation banks and compensatory storage and all that stuff, so we just let the
So
state
you're
do
gonna
that.
take the entire word out, mitigation also?
No, because we go into beaches and dunes, so that will become number 1.
Okay.
And then we talked about that first paragraph A, and adding the language for city-owned beach property unless expressly approved by the city council, compensatory beach and dune mitigation shall require the amount, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
So that was added. And then we talked about on page 514. Which one on that page? Yeah. Number 4, part A. We talked about deleting that first sentence, and then now it was, what was added is maintenance of each seawall by the property owner shall be managed so that the seawall does not degrade the stability of the shoreline. So we talked about how to, we were talking about how property owners sometimes don't always maintain their seawalls, and we wanted to add language to address that.
It's about to become a big problem here.
First, keep in mind that this is, the LDC typically looks at it when it's going in. And so you can put language like that. I had somebody challenge me on some after the fact language, and there is an argument that, well, once it's in, how can you require that? But I think it, you know, it's still an ordinance, so it's just now in the LDC instead of the regular code of ordinance.
And then the last thing that was changed from the last meeting is in part E, and adding the word non-emergency. So any non-emergency dredging shall be conducted at times of minimum biological activity. So if there's an emergency, you can go ahead and dredge.
I did have a question in this section.
Okay?
All your new seawalls are your vinyl seawalls, because a wood seawall will leach like water through it. A vinyl seawall does not. And so all vinyl seawalls have one-way vents. So, because your yard will turn into a swimming pool.
Right.
And so is that considered, I know there was some language in here about runoff and fertilizers and stuff like that. Is that going to cause a compliance issue with people putting
Well,
vinyl
and
seawalls?
that's another one. You know, there's some counties in the state of Florida that don't even sell fertilizer certain times of the year because they don't want them to go out into the
Right.
water bodies. That's not the case here. They don't restrict them here. It's just one of those regulations that, I hate to say it on the record, it's almost impossible to enforce, but it's something that you should say so that people who are willing to do the right thing will do the right thing.
Right,
But you shouldn't be fertilizing
right.
that
I just
close
didn't
to
want, I
your-
just didn't want, you know, I mean, it just stated
Yeah.
that there should be no runoff into the canal. And I'm like, well, every vinyl seawall's.
It's
gonna
really
have
about the
that.
fertilizer entering
Yeah.
and making it
Yeah. You really should be dumping a bunch of fertilizer.
right.
Yeah,
And
the one out on the HOA for the villas, and it has a little little valve.
Yep.
Just a little one-way.
Yep.
Trickles out and down.
Did they put felt behind the seawall now?
Not
Like-
vinyl.
Not a vinyl?
See, they used to put like a filter
That
cloth
black
behind
filter
wood,
cloth,
and the
yeah.
water that got stuck behind the wood would actually seep through the cracks.
Mhm.
And there was filter cloth. Now vinyl, like every 10 feet, there's a one-way valve, so it'll let water out, but not let canal water back. Seep in.
And if they're, if the silt is trickling into the canal, they come in and inject, because that, I think the cost was $50,000 to the villas. Came along, they inject every 4 feet, or basically
Yeah, to prevent.
polymer that
Where
reseals
they're
all of
looking,
that.
yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of seawall that's original seawall that's pushing 60 years old, 70
Wow.
years old. And it's, at low tide, you can see holes in it, and black mud's just coming out, so I mean, it's gonna be a
We
problem.
looked at it after rain, prior to the board deciding which company was gonna get it, because there was 3 different bids, but bottom line, the water that was coming out of that valve wasn't just water. It was silt, and you could see it making a little trail out into the water, so over time, there was, land mass was leaving through that little port and filling down in the boat slips right in front of it. So if there's thousands of those, that's what's going into the
Well,
canal.
the property that I bought had almost 11 dump trucks from a section of seawall that was 8 feet wide that collapsed. And in 6 months, that's how much dirt went to that canal.
Got to take care of that little canal.
Yeah.
What is-
That was the last change from last time.
All right, so there's a couple of sections you're gonna make just a couple of tweaks on, and then, next time, are you bringing back
The whole
the big
thing.
picture?
It's a lot.
Does that mean we're still not ready for a motion on this?
Well,
Can,
you
But
can
I'm
do
gonna bring
this
back the
little
whole
section,
thing.
but at the end, when she brings back the entire thing, that's where you'll do the main recommendation.
Okay, well, I don't know that we need to, it doesn't sound like it.
'Cause she's just gonna
as long
bring
as
it
we're
all
all
back.
in.
Okay. All right, well then, there being no further business, do we have a motion to adjourn? So moved. Wait a second.
Second.
Officially adjourned, thank you all. Good o'clock, look at there.